Well, my last time I talked, we talked a little bit about the flat Earth and all that and how I perceive it or whatnot. And I guess I kind of went a little too far with everything as far as, not going into too much in-depth detail as to the things that I was talking about. So I was thinking maybe I'd choose one topic this time, maybe talking about the firmament. Um, so what I was talking about before was it would be more like a weather phenomenon to me, rather than some hardened uh, type of glass or sapphire stone um, dome or whatnot. But to me, it'd be more like a weather vortex or what when two different temperatures collide. That's just going to be something uh, like I say, like a big hurricane. Maybe we're like in the eye of the hurricane where we don't really notice it. It throws little baby hurricanes at us every now and then. But at the very outskirts of this, round uh, platter that we're in, that would be pretty insane weather. And you know, that's just how I would view it, because outside of this, if there isn't a sun right out the door of us, or another sun circling us and making like a Atlantis type deal with circles and circles, and having different rivers and things like that on the outside, it would just be, you know, ice cold meeting the sun. So I just kind of look at it in a way where it's going to be the worst severe type of you know sleety winter storm that you could possibly even imagine, I think. Um, but that's what I think we'd run into if we came to the edge. So I'm thinking, if we got to the edge of the planet, we'd turn back before we even got to the worst of it. So, I mean, like Math Powerland's wanting to do a expedition, through the South Pole, keep on going till you get to the other side. But what if they hit the 200-mile-an-hour winds? Do you just end it there? I mean, how do you proceed into that? You're not going to get a helicopter in there. Plane ain't going to fly in that. Anything on the ground level is not going to. You're just not going to go. And that's just 200 miles an hour winds. That's already been recorded as far as what we know. But I do believe it would be just a horrendous amount of weather, because you're getting to a boundary where our world ends, and the ice sheet of the outlands begins. So it would be really rough. So if Math Powerland actually got his trip and started that, what if they come across the 200-mile-an-hour winds? Do they just stop there? They keep, are they gonna, to me, the best option would be doing the circumference deal, where you get an expedition to the South Pole, staying on the outskirts, and you just go around. And if I mean, I'm not sure, I didn't get exact measurements of what the South Pole is, but I can tell you it wouldn't be the circumference of what we're talking about as being the flat Earth. So really, you just need to sail to the distance, and of what they say Antarctica is, and just keep moving, around. If you're going further than the distance that they're talking about, then you already know that that's what's happening. You're actually going around Antarctica and the circumference of the known planet. So that would be the way I would do it, because I don't think you're going to get to an edge to where you can put your hand on it. I think you're going to put your hand on something, it's going to freeze almost instantly, But anyways, here's a little dome here. So we'll give the dome We'll get you a dome there. There's a dome. But anyways, that's how I'm kind of viewing this, man. I don't think you're going to get very far. When you come across the weather that would be at the edge of the earth. And my dad, he did work for NASA. He worked for NASA for 30 years. He just recently passed away. But I've been at NASA. I've walked around. I know, some of the things they were working on really were, more like wind operations. They had a big wind tunnel in there that could produce, 1,000-mile-an-hour winds. So to me, that you just reverse what they're saying as far as Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour into the outer edge. Weather is actually moving at 1,000 miles an hour. You probably couldn't shoot a bullet through that. So to actually go and think you're going to get through it, I just don't see that happening. I think that going around the outer edge of Antarctica, always staying south to the lowest south you can go on the compass, and just keep your pattern charting. That's the way to do it. To actually go into Antarctica and think you're going to cross it, even if it's just a continent, I just don't see it. But anyways, that's, like I said, my dad worked at NASA. I remember being there as a little kid, and he started there as a electrical maintenance guy, and worked his way up to a master electrician engineer, which meant he sat around pushing a button that opened up and closed doors. So I went with him to his job before. It wasn't like, it was pretty cool. You get up there and everything's painted really heavily, probably lead paint, I don't know, but it was, everything painted green. I'm going up 3-4 levels and it's all grates. So when you look down, you're looking through the grates. And what it looked to me, from what I remember about it when I was a kid, was a lot of water pumps or something like in that area. It could have been electrical wires or whatever, but it just seemed like a lot of pressurized water, like contraptions. I didn't really understand. I used to ask my dad all the time, "Hey, what do you guys really do there at NASA?" And he just told me that they opened, he on his part, like everybody already knows, this is all compartmental. So on his part, yeah, he would go and fix things that broke down, or he would on his night shift sit there at a control room and do lockout tagouts for other engineers at the time. So they'd call him up and ask him, "Hey, can you open up door C7?" And he'd push a button. And that was his job, that's what he did at the end. So, he wouldn't know, he doesn't know, but I do know that most of the stuff they were doing up there, and where I'm talking about, which NASA is the NASA Lewis Research Center up in Ohio. So that's, up in Cleveland. I lived in a small town out there on the outskirts. My dad wasn't making it rich or nothing. He did good with NASA, but I grew up in a trailer park. So as far as being nassholes and stuff, they don't know. They don't know what they're doing. They're all decompartmentalized in a way where they only understand the job function they're there to do. So. And I went to the picnics, NASA picnics and stuff out there, and just seemed like normal people. It didn't look like people holding a bunch of secrets to me. It just looked like people who had a job, and everybody's just trying to survive. So I just want to throw that out there. I don't think everybody at NASA is a bunch of nassholes. My dad was an asshole for other reasons, but believe me, he didn't have any idea on what they're actually maybe doing. His mind was thinking, okay, well, they're doing, they're turning on these big turbine wind tunnels, so that they can get rocketry information, point a rocket into the wind tunnel and, see, what kind of differences and things they can do to change the rocket, make it more, aerodynamic and stuff like that. And that was to him, that's what they were doing. But to me, now that, flat Earth has kind of come into my mind, what I'm thinking is they're creating that that vortex of what you would need to get through that kind of wind force, to like, just kind of pathway you're through, 1,000-mile-an-hour winds to get to the other side of where we are, which to me, I view it, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just see a huge, ice sheet, because I don't think that there's, if the thing that makes this a livable planet to us is the sun. Without the sun, this would be just a cold and frigid, place to be. I just couldn't see. It would just be the same thing as what I'm viewing outside of this, which is just a huge ice sheet, and it could go on for a long time before you get to something else so I mean, it's like space, but reverse it to where there's actually a ground floor beneath you, but it's just a lot of space in between us and the next, planet, which is just another sinkhole with a sun going around. Maybe there's 2 suns. Maybe there's planets out there that are so big they got 3 suns going around or more. I don't know. So the way I look at it is everything, outside of here, this is what we know. So this is what I'm going by. But use your imagination. It could be as awesome as thinking about, Star Wars or Star Trek. The difference is, with the right technology, anybody could traverse that, So that's what I'm thinking things are, where NASA's money's going. They're actually trying to, or have and are getting through the barrier at this point. The barrier being that weather phenomenon at the outer edge. And from there, it'd be what they talk about in space is you can't get any colder than what they're talking about out in space. It's the coldest of cold. So. It's the same kind of aspect, but you're placing it on an ice sheet, And another thing I'd like to suggest is once you actually get out there, your compass isn't going to work no more. You're not going to know what's north, south, and south because you broke the boundary between that magnetic pole. So once you exit here and you're in a complete darkness with the stars and also it's going to be very confusing. You may think you are floating because if it's a nice ice sheet, you're going to, and things are just reflecting off the sky above. And so you might be standing somewhere. It looks like the stars are all around you because now the ice sheet's projecting back too. So, even though the next planet may be, a million miles, literal miles, on ground level to get to, you're still seeing a projection of all of the different planetary suns reflecting down, and now it's on an ice sheet too. So you'll feel like you were floating in space, But anyways, that's just a different type of perspective on what I think a firmament might be. I mean, it would be similar to a dome. I believe it would have an eye. I believe the heat would fold around and create a weather type vortex, that we've never seen before. Just the worst winter storm ever. Snow flurry, ice, just probably huge chunks of ice just swinging around in circles. I mean, if you think you're just going to go through with a heavy tank, I mean, probably one of the, you'd just be pummeled with ice. I don't know, but that's to me that's dangerous. I think that the best way to prove the flat Earth is to head straight south, get to the borderland of Antarctica, and just keep going. See how many miles it takes to get to point A. Leaving point A. You might that to me makes more sense. Go around it. Don't try and go through it because I just don't. I think you spend a lot of money getting to a point where you just can't go no further anyways. But I could be wrong. It could be like a nice silent. You put your hand on a glass surface or whatever. I mean, in that case, science is kind of out the door. You know, you can't really look at it scientifically anymore. This is that you know, and that's kind of how I wanted to come at this, because I know a lot of people just want to, you know, put God into it, and once God's in it, you might as well stop thinking about it. You know, you might as well not even put your mind into it, which I think a lot of people are, is getting their mind put at ease by just saying, well, God did it, so it's over, that's it, that's done. As long as you have that mentality, then there's no worry. You don't worry about a meteor. You don't worry about, you know, the sky falling, because God's got it. You know, He's got you under control. He's helping you. You know, so to me that's just one way to look at it, though. I mean, I'd love for it to be more scientific of a way that we can escape out of here, which I think we are. I don't think we're actually trapped here. I think we're able to get out. I think we have been getting out. I think I think beings or people are getting in, you know. I think that they're using technology that would match how the sun and the moon stay up in the sky, though. You know, they may direct a magnetic force to any planet, and all of a sudden they're just zooming towards it, you know. So, to me, I mean, you know, I'd like to look at it in a way where we're able to move around here. And even if I'm thinking about God, I don't think God would put us in a place where we're just stacked on top of each other with, you know. I think He put us, you know, where we're, you know, if God is involved in this, which I'm sure there's a creator out there that's done, but everything didn't, you know, it came from somewhere. Somebody created it, no doubt. So, you know, God put this all together, but I don't think God would want us all crammed into one little, you know, dome. I mean, we're already, you know, we're at 7 billion people or whatever. So, you know, you figure every 10 years or so, just kind of, you know, one third more every 10 years or so. You know, again, your kids are having kids, and their kids are having. It seems like kids are having kids right now, anyways. So it's like we're doubling up real quick. So I don't think God would put us in a place where we're stagnating the place. I think this is like it's a good starting ground for us. He created a great starting ground, and He's, you know, when we're ready and we're capable and when we're allowed, I guess at this point, to move around yet again, we'll be able to move to other planets, you know, and inhabit other planets. You know, we might find a planet where dinosaurs are roaming, you know, because it's just a newer planet or whatnot. I don't know. You know, if dinosaurs are even real, I don't know. For all I know, they chiseled up and created their own bones and show you, hey, look at, you know, this is why we think that, you know, Darwin was right. Here's a bunch of dinosaur bones. How could this be? But, you know, I just think that, you know, God would have made a lot of different creatures. I mean, you can look around and see that for yourself, you know. Would He have only made us as being the ones with the mental capability of understanding that God created us? You know, maybe, but I don't know. It seems like He would have done a little bit more than that. You know, He's got more flock than we know. You know. Anyways, whatever on that. Good, and that's my thought on the firmament. I think that we should do like do it around the Antarctica thing, because I think it'd be dangerous. Number one is you're dealing with military officials trying to get in there. I'm sure they just like give you a loop-de-loop, man. It could eat your money up trying to, I don't know, trying to get an expedition even going. So, but you know, I mean, you know, I'm sure that you could probably easier get an expedition going that you could traverse around it, even though I know that they'll make that as difficult as possible too, because they know the only thing you're doing is trying to prove that we're not a ball. So, you know, that once they know, oh, well, this whole thing is all in regards to them trying to throw out the fact that we're on a ball. So, you know, I don't know how, you know, easy any of this is going to be for anybody who decided to, you know, jump on board and try and do this, because, I mean, They could just, put you through paperwork or whatever for years and years and until you just give up. And that's probably the basis of it. So with that being said, man, I again, go around it. I wouldn't go through it. I think going through Antarctica, you'll just come across an area, a part of getting through or to the edge where it'd be just impossible to get to. And you'll just turn around going, well, the winds were too bad. Well, you know what? Now you don't have any proof of anything other than you went into Antarctica and the weather was horrible, so you turned back around. And then everybody's going to tell you, well, you knew the weather was going to be horrible. Well, it's horrible for a reason, because when you get closer to the outer edge, the worse the weather is going to become. It's not going to be like some, you're in the outskirt of the hurricane. Right now, we're in the eyeball of the hurricane. You get out there and they probably have ice balls go through freaking a tank. So that's how I would view it. And that's just, how I think about the firmament.